So today's the day. We're cutting open the Made in England Doc Martens. Doc Martens' most expensive boots and comparing it to their cheap boots and a pair of vintage boots. So let's get to it. I'm so sad about this. When we were tearing apart these vintage boots, I think we're at like 6,000 subscribers, and I was like, well, when we hit 10,000 subscribers, we'll tear apart these boots. And then like literally like 4 days later, we were at 10,000. I was like, oh, I didn't even get to wear the boots. And so that was like a week ago, and we run production out of the shop all week long. And so I only get to film on Saturdays and Sundays. So right now we're at 17,200 subscribers. So if you like what I'm doing, like and subscribe, because this is super fun, even though it's really heartbreaking, but yeah, thanks. And today I'm going to try to knock out 3 videos. First one's gonna be the Doc Marten, and then the second one is going to be the Bellroy wallet teardown, where I take that apart and see how it's built and how good a quality it is. And the third one is I bought a really cheap belt on Amazon, so we're gonna do a little teardown of that too. A little bonus episode for this week. So here we go. That was a bit of a battle getting this one apart, so I've got high hopes for it. So here we go. Wow, this is actually really similar to the vintage pair of boots. It's really just a 3-part construction. The little pad for your pad of your foot, and then this felted fabric, and then the insole, or that wafer board high density foam stuff. There wasn't even an insole in it, which I don't think is a bad thing. Insoles are cheap, and you might want to choose your own anyway. So, okay, let's tear apart this welt now. All right, I got the welt taken apart. It is a Goodyear welt in the way that the welt, this part that goes around the side of the boot, is stitched to the actual boot itself. Most Goodyear welts go through the sole. This one does not, and neither does any of the other Doc Martens. So they say it's a Goodyear welt, but some people say it's not, but the welt is definitely stitched to the boot. Now let's look at the weakest point on Doc Martens, which is the way that they hot knife weld or stick the welt onto the sole. So what they do is they take a hot knife, and the welt, which is this dark part, and the sole, which is the lighter part, are 2 separate pieces, and they run a knife along it, which heats up both of the plastics, or the PVCs, whatever they're made out of, and fuse them together. They say it's a really strong bind, or it's a really strong joint, but it's had a lot of complications in the past. A lot of people don't like it. So let's try ripping this one apart and see how it does. Hi. I'm gonna cheat because I can't get it to come apart again. So where's my knife? Hi. You're in the shot. Scoot. Oh my gosh, this is hard. Oops, I think I'm actually tearing. Okay, so that's a good sign. So the actual welt is tearing before the seam does. So that's a good sign. So, oh, I don't have it all the way off. Oh, yeah. So, that's super good news. I'm really happy about that. So this welt was a huge pain to get off. It was harder than the vintage boots and significantly harder than the cheap Thailand boots. You can actually see where on the heel and kind of in the toe area, when I was pulling that welt off, it wasn't coming loose and it was actually just tearing at the welt instead of tearing the welt from the sole. Like there's some of this black plastic still left on there. That restores my hope in Doc Marten boots. So now let's do a little side by side comparison of the three. They're basically all built the same way, the same style. There's a few differences here and there. Like these two are almost identical. It's the same construction, around the same strength of welt to sole, and they both have that like fibery felted fabric on the inside. So if you like the vintage ones, these ones are really, really similar to it. And I think they probably are just as comfortable. I don't think this felted fabric is quite as thick as the vintage ones, but they're a whole different world than these ones. Like these ones it's all foam, there's no felted fabric in it, and foam always breaks down because the more you press it, the more those little teeny cells inside there squish over and over and over, and they start to break apart. Versus a felted fabric, this stuff is just gonna conform to your foot and it's not gonna fall apart as easily. So I'm a fan of these two boots. These ones still suck. At least this one didn't pretend to have a shank. At least it's honest with itself, you know? Let's measure how thick and how much these felted fabrics on the inside compress. So the Made in England felt compresses down to about 3 millimeters. Okay, and then we go to the vintage pair, is more closer to 4 millimeters. So the Made in England boots don't have quite as thick of a felted fabric on the inside, and the vintage ones have a better, thicker, it just feels different too. Like you can tell it's a lot denser and it kind of springs back more. This is a lot thinner. All right, now let's talk some leather quality. So on the Doc Marten site, it says this is a corrected grain leather and that there's a print on top. And the print it's made to look like it's a full grain leather where you can see like the individual pores and stuff, but that's not the actual leather, it's just the print on top. So the leather is a 4 to 5, so it's 2 millimeters thick, which is a 4 to 5 ounce leather, which is pretty on par, I think, with these other boots. Yeah, 4 or 5 ounce. Actually, these vintage ones are a little bit thicker, so this is probably like a 6 ounce leather, so it's 2.5 millimeters, 6, 7 ounce. Man, dude, they just don't make them. They don't make them like they used to. I actually like this leather. I like the color of it. I don't like the dyed through black leather. I like this more natural leather. I had to call Doc Marten, and it's a chrome tanned leather, and it's a corrected grain leather, and if you don't know what any of these terms are, I just posted a video about like leather 101, kind of going through the different corrected grain, full grain, top grain, different dyes, different qualities of leather, so that you can identify different qualities of leather, so that when I talk about this, I don't have to explain it over and over. It looks like it's a top grain leather. I think I can see part of the grain in there, especially on the tongue area. So decent leather. I think this leather would last a long time if you took care of it. So now for like an overall review, kind of what I think and everything. I think that these are good boots. Are they worth the $220 or $240 that they cost online? Maybe not. You know, they're pretty pricey for what you get, but they are much better than their Made in Thailand boots. Good, not great, I'd say. Nothing special, but nothing horrible. I think they'll last. And then next we've got the Solavare boots. So I'm really holding out for the Solavare boots. I'm hoping they're better than these. And then after Solavare, I want to do a Red Wing series where I just do exactly what we did with these boots, but with Red Wings. They're a lot more expensive, so hopefully these videos keep doing well. And I also want to tear apart a Timberland boot. I've been getting tons of requests in the comment section, but I've never worn them. So let me know what kind of Timberland boots you want me to tear apart. But that's my review of the most expensive pair of Doc Martens. See ya. Also, shout out to all the dads who get mad at me for cutting towards myself. Thank you for, thank you for looking after me. I appreciate it.